Hello everyone. Today, I'll continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Dieu Hân. I hope you enjoy the video. Ever since she learned about her father's condition, Han has devoted almost all of her time to him. She rearranged her work, limited long trips as much as she could, just to stay by his side and care for him in every small way. Every morning, Han woke up early to cook soft, easy-to-eat dishes for her father, the very meals he used to cook for her when she was little, on stormy days or whenever she got sick. Now their roles have reversed, but in every gesture Han makes, there is still the same love she has buried deep inside during all those years apart. She knows very well. Her father doesn't have much time left. The doctors never said it outright, but their eyes told her enough. That's why every second beside him has become painfully precious. Sometimes she simply sits by his bed, listening to him retell old stories. Sometimes she helps him step out to the porch so he can feel the afternoon breeze. Sometimes it is nothing more than holding his hand for a long, long time, even if neither of them says a word. But the more she cherishes these moments, the deeper the ache in her heart grows. Just the thought of losing him one day is enough to make her chest tighten unbearably. She looks away, afraid he will see her reddened eyes. Many nights after he's fallen asleep, Han sits quietly by his bed, smoothing the blanket as if she fears that letting go for even a moment would mean losing him forever. And then the torment begins again. Why didn't she look for him sooner? Why did it have to be now, when the once strong man, sturdy like the western winds of her childhood, has become frail and thin? She blames herself again and again, until the words can no longer come out. Han sees everything. He doesn't talk much, but he is always there for her, helping her father stand, assisting with meals, fixing the stuck window, or simply sitting beside Han so she has a shoulder to lean on when she's exhausted. Han understands her better than anyone. He knows Han is strong, but it is the kind of strength forced upon someone who has already endured too much pain. And right now, all he wants is for her to lean on him just a little. More than once, he took her hand and spoke in a soft vow-like tone. Han, you've done nothing wrong. You've done everything you could. Your father is happy because you're here with him. And whatever lies ahead, I'll carry it with you. Han doesn't answer. She only lets her tears fall quietly. But within that silence is a world of pain she cannot bring herself to say aloud. Han wishes nothing more than for Han to have true happiness, but life is never gentle. Hardship, loss and trial after trial keep coming, forcing this small, delicate girl to stand firm even when she is breaking inside. She is like a tiny candle in fierce wind, bright, yet trembling, strong yet fragile. And Han can only wish, if only he could take even a fraction of her suffering for himself. But he knows the only thing he can truly do is stay by her side, holding her hand tightly, even if storms still lie ahead. To give her father and Tom more beautiful memories together, Han decides to arrange a small camping trip. Not far, not noisy, just enough for the family to gather in peace. She chooses a clearing near the forest, where a gentle stream flows by and wildflowers sway in the wind. It's the place she used to follow her father to when she was young, helping him gather firewood. Every step she takes now feels like stepping into a memory. Han enthusiastically helps, carrying the tent, preparing firewood, bringing food. Tom chatters endlessly, running to help his mother and then running back to hold his grandpa's hand. As for Mr. Hoa, though his health is weak, his face glows with joy, because being with his family seems to wash away all weariness. As they prepare everything together, laughter echoes across the small hillside. Watching them, Han feels her heart grow lighter. Pain, sickness, and exhausting days all seem to drift away with the breeze. Tom loves his grandfather dearly. He knows Grandpa is sick, though he doesn't fully understand how serious it is. But every time his grandfather coughs even a little, Tom rushes over to hold his hand, eyes wide with worry. When the family rests under the shade of a tree, Tom curls up in his grandfather's arms like a small kitten, hugging him tightly and whispering, "Grandpa, please get better soon. Tom and Mom love you so much." Mr. Hoa smiles softly, placing his trembling hand on the boy's head. In his eyes shines a deep, simple happiness, the happiness of a father, a grandfather, trying to live his remaining days as fully as he can. Standing a short distance away, Han watches them lean against each other, and her heart melts. Her smile is gentle, though her eyes shimmer with emotion. Moments like these to her are more precious than gold. Ton walks up, rests a warm hand on her shoulder and says, "See? Just look at them. You've already given them something truly beautiful." Han doesn't say anything. She simply leans her head against his shoulder. The evening breeze carries the scent of freshly cut grass, and the setting sun paints golden streaks across the treetops. That small family, father, daughter, grandson, and the man who silently stays by her side, shares a peaceful, warm, memory-filled afternoon together. Memories that, no matter how many storms come later, they can always hold on to, and find the strength to stand tall again. Ton carefully brought Han's father and the two of them to a quiet riverside. The river drifted gently, the water reflecting the colors of the sunset, as if a thin layer of gold had been laid across its surface. The afternoon breeze carried the scent of wild grass and the cool mist rising from the water. He chose a flat patch of ground beneath an old tree and began setting up the tent. Han helped him spread the mat, while little Tom ran after his grandfather, eagerly helping him hammer the small wooden stakes like an enthusiastic little worker. When the fire was lit, its warm orange glow flickered across their faces, making everyone look softer, warmer. Han sat beside her father, gently placing a scarf over his shoulders, while Tom curled up in his grandfather's lap, his bright eyes fixed on the dancing flames as if they were the most magical thing in the world. Ton took out his old guitar, the one he had kept since his younger days. Sitting across from them, he gently strummed the first few chords. The soft melody blended with the sound of water lapping against the riverbank and the rustling of leaves overhead, forming a simple yet honest song of the forest. Then he began to sing, a song about family, love, and the people who remain beside us no matter how fierce the storms outside may be. Han looked at him, her gaze slowly softening. In that moment, her heart felt warm again, soothed by the tenderness in his voice, by his presence, and by the warmth of her father right beside her. Her father sat quietly listening, his eyes half closed, but the corners of his lips curled up into a smile, the smile of a man who had weathered a lifetime of storms, and now found himself living in a moment he had never dared hope for. He turned to Han, his voice hoarse. "I'm happy. Just being beside you and little Tom is enough for me." Han held his hand, her fingers trembling. Her heart tightened painfully. If she would have frozen time, to keep this moment forever. Her father, her child, the warmth of a small but complete family she had longed for her entire childhood. Watching them, Ton felt something clench inside his chest. He stopped playing, set the guitar down gently and said, "Uncle, please don't worry anymore. From now on, I'll take care of everything. I promise I'll always stay beside Han and little Tom." Mr. Hoa nodded, placing his old hand on Tana's shoulder, as if entrusting him with every hope left in his heart. The fire cast a warm light on the three generations leaning softly toward one another. The moment was peaceful, tender, a moment anyone would wish time could stop, just to hold on to the quiet happiness filling each breath. In his final days, Han's father spoke less, but whenever he was clear-headed, he often asked Ton to sit with him on the front porch. Two men, one old, one young, sat quietly looking out at the sky over the yard, where bamboo swayed gently in the wind and each sunset painted the dusty road a deep shade of red. Mr. Hoa knew his time was running out, but what comforted him most wasn't medicine or strength, it was the man sitting next to him. One evening, while Han and Tom were preparing dinner inside, he placed a hand on his knee and said slowly, "Ton, I know you love Han." Ton froze for a moment, his eyes lowering. He didn't know how to answer. Mr. Hoa looked at the horizon, his voice rough but sincere. "That girl, she has suffered enough. Raising a child alone, carrying everything alone. I'm afraid when I'm gone, she'll be lonely again, just like before." He paused, then turned to Ton with a gentle but sorrowful gaze. "I don't ask for much. Only that you stay by her side, care for her, love her. And love little Tom too. Those two, they need a steady shoulder." The words cut through Ton like a quiet, deep blade. He tightened his fists, trying to steady his voice. "Uncle, promise, I'll do everything I can. I'll take care of Han and Tom as my own family." Mr. Hoa nodded, a tired but peaceful smile appearing on his lined face. "Then, I can rest easy. But when his father-in-law looked away, Ton turned his face aside, his eyes reddening. He knew how heavy that promise was. He knew he was standing before a loss no one can avoid. He knew he couldn't change fate. All he could do was accept it. Accept the approaching farewell to a man he had come to love like family. And accept that from this moment forward, he must become the true support for Han and her son. When Han stepped out of the kitchen and saw them sitting in silence, she didn't know that a profound vow had just been exchanged. The final wish of her father's life. Ton stood up and walked to her, speaking softly. "I'll always be here right beside you." Han didn't fully understand the weight of his words. But Ton understood. And so did Mr. Hoa. Inside the small home, the scent of freshly cooked rice filled the air, warm and comforting. But beneath that warmth was a hollow space waiting to open. A space both Han and Ton feared. Yet one thing was certain. Ton would never let Han face any of it alone. No matter how much pain, loss, or hardship lay ahead. He would hold her hand, just as he had promised her father in his final days. The next morning, before the first rays of sunlight could slip past the window frame, the whole family was already awake and getting ready. Han busied herself making breakfast, Tom happily set the table, and Ton helped Mr. Hoa change his clothes and guided him outside to breathe the fresh morning air. Though his body was exhausted, his breath short and weak, Mr. Hoa still tried to smile and said, "Today, I want to go to school. I want to see my students one more time." No one had the heart to refuse. Han looked at her father, her heart tightening, but she still forced a smile and quickly packed everything to take him to the primary school where he had taught for so many years. That morning, the little classroom seemed to shine brighter than usual. When Mr. Hoa stepped inside, the children rushed toward him. "Teacher Hoa, are you feeling better? Teacher, please don't stop teaching us." His eyes grew misty. He looked at each innocent face, his heart overflowing with affection. But just as he stepped up to the podium, before his smile could fully form, a sharp pain struck. He clutched his chest, his face drained of color, his breath suddenly cut short. "Dad!" Han screamed. Everything happened like a nightmare. His body collapsed right there on the podium, the place where he had stood for decades. Ton rushed forward to catch him while Han, her hands trembling, called for an ambulance, tears streaming down even as she tried to stay calm. At the hospital, after examining him, the doctor could only quietly lower his head. That simple gesture was enough to shatter the last fragile thread of hope. "Please prepare yourselves, his condition has worsened, he probably doesn't have much time left." The doctor's voice trembled. Han sank into the chair, sobbing uncontrollably. She had known this day would come, but nothing could truly prepare her for that kind of pain. Ton knelt beside her and pulled her into his arms. He let her cry, let her pour out all the fear, guilt, and sorrow that had been piling up inside her. "I'm here, you still have me, don't be afraid," Ton whispered, his voice shaking. In the hospital room, Mr. Hoa's breathing was weak, but his eyes were still clear. He held Han's hand, his voice barely more than a breath. "My daughter, don't cry." Han choked on her tears, gripping his hand tightly. "I don't want to lose you. I haven't done anything to repay you yet." Mr. Hoa gave a tired smile. "I don't need anything else. I just want you to live happily. That's enough." He turned to Ton, calling his name with all the trust he had left. "Ton, thank you for finding Han, for bringing her back to me. I don't blame you for what happened in the past. I only hope you'll take care of her in my place." Ton bowed his head deeply, his voice breaking. "I promise. I'll protect Han and little Tom for the rest of my life." Mr. Hoa's fading gaze returned to Han. "You must open your heart. Accept love. You deserve to be loved. Promise me." Han nodded, tears falling without pause. "I promise. I'll live happily. Please don't worry." Mr. Hoa closed his eyes, a faint smile resting on his lips. His fingers slowly relaxed, and in that moment, the silence was devastating. Han burst into tears, clinging to her father. Tom cried along with her and Ton stood beside them, eyes red, gripping Han's trembling hand. It was a moment the three of them would never forget. The sound of the heart monitor stretched into a single unbroken line, a cold, sterile sound that marked the end of a life filled with worries, hardship, and sacrifice. Han's father was gone. Gently, peacefully, as if at last he had been allowed to lay down the burdens that had weighed on his shoulders for so many years. There was no trace of pain left on his face, only calm. The quiet fulfillment of a father who had lived long enough to see his daughter grown, to hold his grandson in his arms, and to entrust all his faith to Tan before closing his eyes. But to Han it was the most terrifying moment of her life. She let out a heartrending cry and threw her arms around his gradually cooling body. "Dad, please don't leave me. I'm begging you, don't go." The doctors and nurses could only stand in silence. They had witnessed many farewells, but the sight of that small girl clinging to her father's body, sobbing until she had no strength left, still made their chests tighten with sorrow. Han could not accept it, even though she had known, even though the doctors had warned her, even though her father's decline had been clear day by day. When the moment finally came, it still crushed her. Her heart felt as if it were being squeezed so tightly she couldn't breathe. She cried until her whole body shook, her throat burned raw, her eyes swollen and bloodshot. "Dad, I haven't done anything to repay you. Why did you leave so soon?" Standing beside her watching Han collapse, Tan felt his own heart twist. He wanted to hold her, but his hands froze, afraid of intruding on those last moments between father and daughter. When Mr. Hoa's body was taken away, it was Tan who stepped up to handle the funeral arrangements. He ran back and forth, dealing with hospital procedures, contacting the funeral home, taking care of every detail as carefully as he could, all out of deep respect and gratitude for the man he considered his own father. Han was completely devastated. The first day she didn't eat at all. The second day still nothing. Every sob, every breath she took was broken, soaked in despair. She just sat beside her father's coffin, one hand resting on the framed photo as if trying to cling to the last trace of his warmth. "Dad, please just sleep for a while. Then wake up and come back to me." Tan sat right behind her, his hand on her shoulder, gentle yet steady. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You still have me. Still have Tom. Still have a family." But Han heard none of it. The pain of losing her father drowned out every other sound. When news of Mr. Hoa's passing spread through the neighborhood, neighbors, colleagues, former students, all came one by one. Some brought white flowers. Some brought trays of fruit. Some simply stood beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder and saying, with quiet sincerity, "Stay strong, child. Your father is at peace now." Those sympathetic gazes only made Han cry harder. Every word of comfort felt like another reminder that she had truly lost the last person she had in this world. Even though he was still little, Tom could sense that something terrible had happened. He tugged at his mother's sleeve, eyes red. "Mom, where did Grandpa go? Will he come back to eat with me again?" That innocent question shattered what little strength Han had left. She collapsed, hugging her son, sobbing soundlessly. Watching the two of them, Tan felt as if his heart were being torn in two. He wished he could bear that pain for them. The days of mourning passed in a haze of sorrow. The wind stirred the smoke of the incense sticks, making the white mourning clothes on Han's shoulders flutter, only adding to her sense of fragility. Everyone hoped that this small, fragile girl would eventually pull through, but they knew this wound would take a very, very long time to heal. On the morning of the burial, the sky was gray and heavy, as if it too understood that today was the farewell to a good father. Dew clung to the tree branches, and the wind blew cold and thin, making everyone's heart feel even heavier. The funeral carriage slowly carried Mr. Hoa's casket toward the small cemetery on a low hill. Neighbors, former students, and fellow teachers followed behind, their eyes red. They respected him deeply. A gentle, humble teacher who dedicated his entire life to his students. Han, dressed in mourning clothes, looked pale after days of crying herself empty. She clutched the white funeral cloth tightly, following the hearse with weak, unsteady steps. Each step felt like it was dragging along her shattered heart. Tan walked right beside her, one arm supporting her trembling back, the other holding little Tom's hand. Tom looked around in confusion, then tugged on his mother's sleeve and asked softly, "Mom, is Grandpa still sleeping?" The question pierced straight into Han's chest. She bent down to hug her son, but tears fell again, soaking into his soft hair. When the coffin was lowered, the first thud of soil, thump thump, made Han's whole body tremble. The sound tore through the air, heavy enough to make her heart twist painfully. She rushed forward, collapsing at the edge of the grave, her trembling hands gripping the dirt. "Dad, please don't leave me. Dad, I'm scared. I haven't done anything to repay you yet." Her voice cracked raw and broken. No one could hold back their tears. People gently tried to pull her back for safety, but Han struggled desperately like a lost child. Tan quickly wrapped his arms around her, holding her firmly so she wouldn't fall. "Han, don't do this. I'm here, you still have me. You still have Tom. Don't make your father worry even more." She collapsed into his chest, crying until she could no longer breathe. Her entire body shook violently, as if without his arms around her, she would simply fall apart. Tan held her tighter, his voice choked. "I know this pain is unbearable, but I promise you, I will take your father's place. I'll protect you, care for you, for the rest of my life." When the final shovelful of soil covered the grave, a heavy silence settled over the hill. One by one, people stepped forward to place white flowers on the fresh mound and bow their final goodbyes. Only Han remained kneeling there, her trembling hand resting on her father's framed photo. The wind blew her hair across her face, but she didn't notice. She whispered her final words, voice shaking. "Dad, promise, I'll live happily, so please rest easy. I love you so much." Her tears fell onto the fresh soil, merging with the earth. A chapter of pain had just closed, and a new chapter, difficult but one she had to face, was beginning. Tan stepped closer and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Come on, Han, let me take you home. I won't let you face anything alone." Han looked up at him, her eyes red and exhausted, but carrying a fragile determination. "Dad wanted me to open my heart. I'll try. I'll try." Tan pulled her into a comforting embrace, letting her rest against his chest. Beside them, little Tom held his mother's hand tightly with his small fingers. On the hilltop, the gentle wind blew past, like her father whispering his final blessing. "My daughter, be strong."
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Chúc mọi người có một ngày mới vui vẻ và hạnh phúc. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay của mình nha. Vậy là sau những biến cố và khó khăn thì chẳng có phép màu nào để đưa đến với người cha của Hân. Cô vừa đoàn tụ sau những chuỗi ngày mong chờ thì lại phải chia ly người cha của mình. Hân gục ngã, liệu cô gái nhỏ bé ấy có vượt qua nỗi đau này hay không? Và Thành sẽ làm gì để giúp Hân vực dậy? Thì mời mọi người cùng đón xem ở những video tiếp theo nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã ủng hộ những video của mình trong suốt thời gian vừa qua. Hy vọng rằng những video của mình sẽ mang lại ý nghĩa cho mọi người mỗi khi xem. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở video lần sau nha.